Picture a small town in 1941. Early morning, quiet streets, nothing unusual. Then here they come. 12 enormous red machines, 33 feet long, 15 tons apiece, rolling into town in tight formation, like something out of a comic strip about the future. The drivers sit almost 10 feet off the ground, staring out through curved glass like pilots in a Buck Rogers serial. Kids stop dead in their tracks. Nobody in this town has ever seen anything like it. These are the Futurliners, and General Motors built them to sell America a dream. What most people watching that morning never knew is that the same company selling them the future was, at that very moment, tangled up in some of the darkest corporate dealings in American history. To understand why the Futurliner exists at all, you have to go back to 1923, when Alfred Sloan took the reins at General Motors. He inherited a mess, a scattershot collection of car brands with no coordination and no real identity. Within a decade, he'd turned it into the biggest industrial company on earth. His masterstroke was the brand ladder, Chevrolet at the bottom, then Pontiac, Oldsmobile, Buick, and Cadillac at the top. The idea was simple: grow richer, climb the ladder, buy a nicer GM car at every stage of your life. But Sloan needed one more thing that Henry Ford never bothered with. He needed people to get bored with cars that still ran perfectly fine. So in 1927, he hired Harley Earl, the son of a Los Angeles coach builder who'd spent his childhood shaping clay for Hollywood stars. Earl knew almost nothing about engines and everything about desire. GM's own engineers mocked his new styling department, calling it the beauty parlor. They weren't laughing for long. Earl's designs started outselling Ford's within a few years, and by the early 1930s, GM had taken the top spot in the industry, a lead it would hold for the next 70 years. By 1936, Sloan had turned that same instinct for spectacle into something even bigger: the Parade of Progress, a traveling roadshow that brought the wonders of science straight to small-town America. It worked. Over 1 million people came out to see it. So naturally, Sloan wanted more. He handed Harley Earl a new assignment: design something the world had never seen. What Earl delivered were the Futurliners. Built by hand on a bus assembly line in Pontiac, Michigan, each one stretched 33 feet with a driver's cockpit mounted dead center, perched above a hood that looked like an aircraft carrier deck. Deep red side panels, a gleaming white roof, articulated chrome doors that folded open to reveal entire exhibition stages underneath. Top speed, maybe 40 miles an hour on a good day. These things weren't built for speed. They were built to stop traffic. In 1941, all 12 rolled out together, backed by a support convoy of 32 vehicles and 50 hand-picked college graduates, trained to drive, present, and charm. Wherever the convoy parked, a massive tent went up, big enough to hold 1,500 people, and the chrome panels lifted to reveal microwave ovens cooking eggs, cutaway jet engines, stereophonic sound, even a working television set. 3 million Americans across 43 cities got a glimpse of tomorrow they wouldn't forget. So here's the question worth asking: what was General Motors actually doing while it sold that vision of progress? The answer isn't pretty. GM had owned Germany's Opel since 1929, and by the late 1930s, Opel was building trucks for the Wehrmacht, the very blitz trucks that powered Hitler's invasions. GM even shared its technology for leaded gasoline with Germany, an additive Albert Speer later admitted was essential to the Blitzkrieg of Poland. In 1938, GM's head of overseas operations was personally decorated by Adolf Hitler for his service to the Reich. When a stockholder confronted Alfred Sloan about it in 1939, months before the war even began, his response was ice cold. "Not the business of GM's management," he said. Back home, GM was quietly funding a company called National City Lines, which bought up streetcar systems in roughly 25 American cities, tore out the electric tracks and replaced them with GM buses running on Standard Oil fuel and Firestone tires. Ridership dropped. Service got worse, and suddenly, the only practical way to get around your own city was behind the wheel of a car. GM was eventually convicted of antitrust violations for it in 1949 and fined $5,000, less than the cost of chroming a single Futurliner. And then there was Flint. In December 1936, right as the first parade of progress was rolling out to dazzle the country, The workers inside GM's Fisher body plants were done being dazzled. Wages were brutal, conditions were worse, and Sloan's answer to labor organizing wasn't Henry Ford's fists, it was espionage. GM was spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a year spying on its own employees. On December 30th, workers at Fisher Body Plant Number 1 sat down at their machines and refused to leave. They held that plant for 44 days through a brutal Michigan winter, organizing committees for food, security, even entertainment. When police stormed a second plant with tear gas, the strikers fought back with fire hoses and door hinges in what became known as the Battle of the Running Bulls. It eventually took the governor of Michigan, the U.S. Secretary of Labor, and President Roosevelt himself to bring GM to the table. Sloan reportedly screamed at Labor Secretary Francis Perkins, "I'm worth $70 million, and I made it all myself." In February 1937, GM finally recognized the United Auto Workers. Less than 4 years later, those same factories were rolling out the Futurliners that would drive into small towns and sell America a shining, chrome-plated tomorrow. As machines, though, the Futurliners really were something. Hand-built, each one carrying its own 200-kilowatt diesel generator, powered doors, and articulated chrome panels that pushed the limits of what sheet metal workers could pull off in 1940. After a wartime pause, they came back in 1953 with new gasoline engines, air conditioning, and fresh exhibits on jet propulsion and atomic energy. But the very technology they'd introduced to small-town America, television, is what eventually killed the show. Why drive across town to see the future when it was already sitting in your living room? By 1956, over 70% of American homes owned a TV set, and GM quietly shut the parade of progress down for good. Then GM did something almost unthinkable. It just walked away from them. One Futurliner was destroyed in an accident that same year. The rest were sold off piecemeal to whoever wanted them. The Michigan State Police turned a couple into safety demonstration trucks. A Detroit brewery bought one and turned it into a mobile beer promotion vehicle, complete with a cooler stashed behind the driver's seat. When its radiator once sprang a leak on the road, the driver reportedly poured cans of beer straight into it, just to limp to the nearest dealer. For decades, these machines that once represented the absolute pinnacle of American design sat rusting away in junkyards and side streets, half forgotten by the company that built them. Then the collector car market rediscovered them. In 2006, a restored Futurliner crossed the block at Barrett-Jackson. The owner was hoping for $600,000. It sold for $4.1 million. At the time, the highest price ever paid for an American-made vehicle at auction. Today, 9 of the original 12 are known to survive, scattered across private collections and a few museums, with 2 still unaccounted for. The Futurliner never lied about the technology it showed people. The jet engines were real, the microwave ovens worked, the wonder families felt standing in front of them was genuine. But it was also the most beautiful piece of corporate propaganda General Motors ever built. A rolling advertisement for a future that just happened to require everyone to own a car, produced by a company that was, at that exact same moment, arming a war machine overseas and crushing dissent back home. That's the real story behind those 12 red giants. If you're into the forgotten machines and the strange histories that built the cars we love, that's exactly what we do here on Engine Edge. Stick around for the next one.